Alright guys, on Survival HT, this video we're going to actually show you middle of the range gardening as opposed to other videos that we've shown you before. Truck patching, that's going to be to sell out of the truck, more large scale for tractors, in excess of your own needs, as well as we've shown you urban gardening, which are much smaller for people like me who are used to living in apartments with very minimal ground space. But as opposed to those two, we're looking at a backyard average garden. We're going to be looking at some bush beans, cauliflowers, onions, broccoli, cabbage, and collard greens. All things you would buy at a grocery store, but what we'd like to do is equip you with the resources to do this on your own so you can save a lot of money instead of going to the grocery store. What we have here is our typical planting trays to start for the germination period, anywhere from about a month and a half up to 2 months depending on the seed. And also, of course, we have our potting mix bags right here. So we'll get started in a minute. Very simple. Like you fill up ice trays, put the dirt in. Alright guys, we got it all filled up with the potted soil. So when it comes to your seeds, one thing that's really important to note, this one right here is a much bigger seed for the bush beans. We have a few other smaller seeds. So you want to put about 2 seeds per slot for the bigger seeds, so that way if one doesn't germinate, the other one possibly will. For the smaller seeds you can put 3, maybe even 4, but for sure 3 on each slot. The bigger the seed, the deeper you're going to go, and the smaller the seed, the more shallow you're going to bury it for it to have a better chance of actually taking root and springing out. Now, take in mind that what we're doing is a winter crop, so because we're planting it at this time towards the end of the summer, it's important to note not to put it in direct sunlight. The direct sunlight's actually going to harm it. So we want to put it in a shady area for it not to be too hot, yet at the same time catch some of the sunlight. Alright, in these trays right here. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Alright guys, we got some big seeds right here, the bush beans. I'm going to hold it in. Like I said, about 2 seeds per slot. I'm going to get deep down in there. Just like poke a hole in it with a finger. Look, Hannah's trying to help us out today. Put it in, watch out Hannah. So just like that, about 1 inch deep for these big seeds, bush beans. And it's already ready to eat. Alright, just push that down in there, about 1 inch like I said. Kind of borrow some extra dirt here to make sure it's covered for it to germinate. Nope, not yet Hannah. That's about it. That brings it to a conclusion to plant the seed. One good tip, though, would be to hang on to the label and leave that to the end of the row so as to identify what rows or which plant. Alright guys, it's been about 5 days since we had planted these seeds, and as you can see, they sprouted out very, very nicely, better than we were actually expecting. We wanted to clarify something. Part of the reason that we're doing these in the trays is because we want to be able to monitor them as they germinate and take root. Turns out we actually had a heavy rainstorm 2 days afterwards, and if it were to take root and start to germinate, they could have been washed away. Not necessarily, but may or may not. The point is we want to be able to monitor them. So though you don't have to put them in trays for your winter harvest, you definitely would not do any harm by putting it in the trays. So in about a couple of weeks, we're going to take these things out and we're going to plant it in the backyard, till it up, make a nice, good medium-sized garden so we can start saving money on groceries. Oh yeah. Alright guys, we got the tilling done. We've been working on making the rows, and at this point we got most of the grass out. Typically we like to wait and let the grass die about a week or 2 weeks before you start making the rows, but unfortunately we're trying to hard press for some rain that's coming in and the time in the season, so we went ahead and go ahead and start with the rows. After we break the rows about 1.5 feet between each one, you want to take your hoe, turn it backside like this, run it flat over the top, give you a nice little flat heel to put your seed in, just like that as you're coming across. And we're going to do that for each row as we go along. What we got here is wire frame for some bush beans. Typically you won't need that for bush beans, but the variety we have get pretty tall. So in order to stay organized as much as possible, we're just going to push these wire frames in the row right next to each other, just like you.